Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney Mary Carmack Altwies reacted swiftly to news that Baldwin had settled the lawsuit with Helena Hutchins' family. According to Reuters, quote, she said the settlement would have no impact on her decision whether to file criminal charges in the case. Investigators have focused on determining who handled the pistol Baldwin fired. Ostensibly, that's good news. Her office also added in a statement, quote, while civil suits are settled privately and often involve financial awards, criminal cases deal only in facts. If the facts and evidence warrant criminal charges under New Mexico law, then charges will be brought. No one is above the law, end quote. And yet if we, being clear and sincere, finances or a lack of, do seem to be an issue in this particular case. The biggest insight in this rebuttal from the DA is that a public statement was made at all. I think if the DA had remained silent, that could be interpreted a certain way. The fact that the DA, who has been fairly silent all along throughout this year, with a few rare exceptions, has gone to the effort to make their position clear seems to be a good thing. The other thing that is worth pointing out is it's only recently that the DA said that they may bring charges against up to 4 individuals. That was also breaking a protracted silence. Now, the next milestone will be to see whether there are charges or not, and if so, a criminal trial. And now I want to share something with you that really shocked me. It's right there in black and white in an article from the LA Times, and yet it was unbelievable. Unbelievable actually seeing those words, and I'm going to share those with you. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment. Bear in mind I'll be doing a TCRS book review later today, so look out for that. And let's get started. So the snippet of information I've found that's pretty intriguing is from the LA Times dated October 5th, 2022. I'll put a link to that in the description. The article reads, quote, the settlement announcement comes days after Baldwin provided data from his cell phone to law enforcement investigators, end quote. Now, we know that Baldwin handed over his phone in mid-January. Unless this is an error, Baldwin has either been withholding or been reluctant to release additional data, or law enforcement have requested additional data and it's taken until now for that to be released or procured. Was he asked, for example, to provide a password? Or did he have to authorize access to his call records? Or did law enforcement need to pay for the expertise of someone who deals with extracting call data, and they needed a budget for that? This is extremely late in the investigation to still be waiting on something so obviously critical to the investigation, in order to join the dots. What was said? What was texted? What is the data on Baldwin's phone? Now, I have previously covered this topic, the texts that were exchanged between Baldwin and Matt Hutchins, Alina's husband. And I'll put a link to that video so that you can watch that in the description. I'm not quite sure how they got hold of that, but bear in mind, if you can't get it from one particular phone, it's obviously possible that you can get it from the other phone where these messages were sent to. It also makes one wonder why the heck Helena's husband was in such a hurry to agree to settle now. Why not simply wait until the final report came out? Now, according to the LA Times, quote, it was unclear Wednesday whether the undisclosed financial settlement will have any bearing on the outcome of any criminal case, end quote. And so obviously that information has since been updated, where the DA has said explicitly it will have no bearing on the outcome. Now, although I can agree with that hypothetically, that the district attorney may be impartial, right? If the district attorney is impartial and decides, let's follow the facts, if the case does go to trial, this information could influence a jury in the sense that a family member has in inverted commas, forgiven or moved past or let go of some of the people in this case. I mean, to quote a word that Matt Hutchins used was, I don't want to have any recriminations, right? And a statement like that, if this case does go to trial, will probably be brought up at trial. So this is his statement. Now, think about these words, how they may play out if there is actually a trial. Think about how a jury might respond to it if it comes to that. Think about these words from Matt Hutchins. Quote, "I have no interest in engaging in recriminations or attribution of blame to the producers or Mr. Baldwin. All of us believe Helena's death was a terrible accident. I'm grateful that the producers and the entertainment community have come together to pay tribute to Helena's final work." Now, although the district attorney has made it clear that they're going to follow the facts and no one is above the law, there is a certain amount that isn't clear. In one sense, you'd imagine the investigation is separate and should be separate, but in another sense, as I say, if the victim's family have forgiven Baldwin, that sends a message. And one also wonders, does that send a message to the DA, even if it's subtly? The production going ahead is also a carrot of sorts dangling in front of the DA. The production going ahead means, I think, taxes and certain income going into the state of New Mexico. So a final quote from the LA Times, quote, "The settlement brings to a close just one prong of the fallout from the Russ tragedy. The production and Baldwin still face multiple lawsuits in Los Angeles and New Mexico." So it's important that although this lawsuit was settled, and the one from the script supervisor, not quite sure what's going on there, was it dismissed? Was an aspect of it dismissed? I'm not quite sure. But there are still at least two more outstanding. The gaffer, Sergei Svetnov, was a close personal friend of Helena. Will he throw in the towel too? Also, what about the lawsuit from Hannah Gutierrez-Reed? So what you have is a very important lawsuit that's been settled, but does it really change very much? It may change things to some extent, but there are still other lawsuits and the investigation taking place. You kind of get the feeling that this story isn't over yet, right? So I'm not going to take it further than that. Bear in mind, I'll be doing a live stream at around about 9 p.m. Pacific time on Book Club. It's going to deal with my background as an author and also some books that the true crime community find interesting, worth reviewing. We're going to be looking in particular, in terms of this first episode, at the definitive narrative, the definitive book on a particular case. What is that? What does it look like? What are some of the pitfalls of a definitive narrative? So if you like reading, if you're interested in reading, if you want to know the background of what it's like to be an author, a writer, then you might find that quite interesting. So join us on this channel at 9 p.m. Pacific. See you guys there. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.